Thank you for Patreon now for donating to the Patreon.
Hey guys, this video is all back in Card Fight Vanguard deck profile. So because you're doing, don't forget, comment, subscribe, and let's go sorry. This time we are covering set 4, Lyrical Monasterio, Pacifica. More encounters. I'm not against the idea of encounters, but man, I did not want this to be the encounter we get. For those of you that don't know, I don't like Pacifica at all. There's no reason behind it. I just don't like her. Same with Prisms, and lo and behold, we got Prisms. I like Anj. I didn't like Anj because of what happened in G. I liked Anj what happened in V. That's why I began to like Anj and why I began to like Bermuda Triangle in general. But the fact that we got Pacifica over her, I know why, because she's the most iconic one, and then I guess Prisms because Labrador got passed over. I don't know. I feel like we got robbed of the Anj love. Anyways, let's get this started, shall we? And see what we got, because honestly, the deck is not bad, but if it's between this and Prism to play, I'm 100% picking Prism. I'm not going to pick this over any day of the week. First up, we have our starter today, and that is Diva of Night Moon Iasanta. Now, let that be clear real quickly. We all know I'm biased towards the Moon. If I'm still saying I'm going to side with Prism over this deck, and they have a starter that lines with the Moon, that kind of tells you why my bias is decent. Anyways, Grade Zero boost, 5k, show 6k base, auto road point points, I can draw a card, standard starter, none of the free draw if you win second. You can really make this any starter you want. None of the ride line requires each other, but I mean, might as well run Diva because A, she fits the theme of having quote-unquote Diva in her card name, but then also because she says the Night Moon, even though she doesn't show it at all, unless like that's the moon right there, but honestly, it's kind of blends in too well. So I mean, again, make this your starter if you wanted to, otherwise, yeah, one of. Then we have our triggers from Over Trigger and Mysterious Twins, Romia and Rumia. Grade Zero boost, 50k shield, 5k power. Over Trigger, move Over Trigger in your deck. When revealed as a trigger, move that card, draw a card, choose one of your units, it gets plus 1 for the turn, and if you vote it during your check, activate its additional effect, which you get during this fight, you get during your turn. All your rear guards get plus 10,000 power. Cool. You know, the Lyrical over just gives a bunch of numbers to your entire board. To the Rush decks, this does great. To Labrador, this just puts them on steroids. To any of the Rush decks, it puts them on steroids. To this deck, it's like, if you spent the entire game planning for the moment you are going to sack the over, and then you actually sack the over, this thing will be the death of your opponent within 5 seconds of you seeing it. Like, it's guaranteed, it doesn't matter what damage they're at, it will be their death the second you see it. But, yeah, otherwise it's kind of like not the most powerful by a long shot, but it's not the like weakest either. Because I mean, again, it's a free 10k to the board, and when you have back row attacks and you got at least 4 attacks in a turn, it's helpful. So one of Rumia is not amazing in my opinion in this deck, just because again, feels like the other decks that spam rear guards more consistently or multi-attack more, Hermina or Fortia, for example, will get more benefit out of this. But a free 10k is free 10k. Then we have our normal triggers. First, we're on 2 copies of Transparent Snowy Night Bear Toy and 2 copies of Snowskip Palavi. So they are a front and draw trigger respectively, Bear Toy being the draw to being able to help increase hand and seek through our Pacificas, which is what we don't see. And then our front triggers Palavi, well, it's a front trigger. It adds numbers to front row. What's more to say about it? They both share the same skill, though, where they have continuous guard circle. If your opponent's vanguards are grade 3 or greater, they both get plus 5k shield. They both have, they both have 4k base inherently, but Palvi has 15k shield inherently, which turns into 20 if the opponent's vanguards are grade 3, and then Bear Toy has 5k shield inherently, but it turns into 10k if the opponent's at grade 3. All around pretty helpful for guarding, and I see these two consistently enough. I know why I see Palvi consistently enough, because Palvi has been loving to show up whenever she wants to in this set with any of my decks, and I can't understand why. And then Bear Toy, I don't know, does the same, but like to a lesser degree. I know Palvi, if I want to see her, she will just show up on her own accord. So, I mean, 2 of Palvi, 2 of Bear Toy, extra guard power, extra numbers to front row, extra hand cards, what's like about it. And then we have the reason why I don't like playing this deck. Fluffy Lady Godleveil, so grade 0 boost, 15k shield, 5k power, and then Precious Tune Edwidge, grade 0 boost, 15k shield, 4k power. So this can be any crit. You don't have to make a Godleveil, I just did it because of the theme, and then same with Edwidge, but I would recommend at least probably keeping Edwidge because auto rear guard, and then about to boost it, put it to soul to choose one of your units, it gives 2k for the turn. The 2k is not necessary, and the soul isn't necessary either, but I mean, you know, worst case scenario comes around and you just only draw the Soul Blaster, keyword on Soul Blaster and not Soul Blasters, and you just see a bunch of triggers for the entire game, then yeah, Edwidge is going to be helpful. But again, that involves you seeing only the Soul Blaster, again, keyword Soul Blaster and not Soul Blasters, and then you just see only triggers for the rest of that game. Otherwise, you should be fine. But, 7 crits in a multi-attack deck. That kind of tells you what the why it's annoying and the amount of time you see crits. But that might be why I hate this set, because a lot of the decks I play, I run 7 crits in, and maybe it's because Fennel specifically made me hate them. But I mean, yeah, I'm trying to think. Maybe it's just Fennel's fault. Anyway, 7 crits. And then we have 4 heals in Diva of Extari Exia. I said that completely wrong. I'm not going to try again. Georgiana. Okay, I'm gonna try again. Diva of Ataricia, Georgina. Grades will boost 15k shield, 5k power. Standard heal enough spot. I don't really like the effect heals too much. I feel like the effect heals is too situational. You can really make this any heal you want, even if you do want to run the effect heals, which have the fluctuating 10 to 25k shield. But I'd much rather have the consistent 50k shield over that 10 to 25. But again, make this any heal you want. Lyrical Monasterio is not short of any amount of heal triggers, so take that as you will, but I just prefer her because she fits the theme. Then we have our grade 1s. First one, 3 copies of Catching at the Last Front Row, Bernalda. Grade 1 boost 5k shield, 8k base, auto rear guard. When the attack of the unit boosted by this unit hits anything, whether it's Vanguard or rear guard, check the top 7, shoot up to 1 unit with Pacifica and its card name from one of them, reveal, put it to hand, shuffle your deck, and reveal the card, put this unit to bottom of deck. So, cool. Top 7 for a free either Persona Ride or literally the best rear guard in this deck by a long shot, or second best rear guard in the deck in my opinion by a long shot, and, gives you targets. Cool, it also adds on hit pressure. What's not more to like about it? The only way this thing could be better is if it also counted its own attack, but it is what it is, and it does recycle itself, so it prevents you from decking out, and it does it for free, so solid 3 of. Then we have 4 copies of what is actually, in my opinion, the best rear guard in this deck. I know this deck doesn't do nearly as well as it does without Planet Idol, but, in terms of art and in terms of skill, I genuinely love this card more. Also, the fact that she shows up more consistently than Planet Idol does. Yeah, let's just make that clear real quickly. Planet Idol, the card in this deck where there are a lot of cards that search for it, somehow shows up less often than this card, which has nothing that searches for it outside of the main grade 3. Just making that point clear. 4 copies of Rousing Vocal Lausen, grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base, auto rear guard. At the amount of this unit boosted, retire her to chip to 2 cards of the Pacifica and their card names, not different card names, but they can be if you want them to be, from your drop zone and return them to the deck and shuffle it. If you chose 2 cards, countercharge 1. Cool, so recycles units, lessens your chance of deck out, gets you more Persona Rides, gets you more copies of your main grade 3 back in deck, and it's a free countercharge, meaning you can use more CB for the Vanguards, multi-attackers, for attacks in general that turn. The only way she can be better is like this one. It wasn't just the attack it boosted, but it was the attack it made as well. But the fact that it doesn't have to hit and it can swing into anything is great. So 4 of Lausen, like I said, free recycle. It opens up rearguard circle, which is actually a benefit for Pacifica. It can boost anything, whether it's Vanguard or rearguard. So if you bricked hard and you're trying to get Planet out, there you go. And it's free CC. 4 of Lausen. I just love her so much. And again, in my opinion, the most important rearguard in this deck. I know Planet Idol is that good as well. I'm just saying, my opinion, Lausen. Then we have 4 copies of Diva Refreshing Calm Christine. Grade 1 boost, 0 shows, K base, continue Sentinel. You may have up to only 4 Sentinels in deck, and always when it's put on guard circle, choose one of your units. It cannot be hit on the battle. And if your hand has 2 or more cards in it, choose a card from your hand to guard it. Standard PG. Nothing too special about it. Basically, that means if this only one of the cards in your hand, place it on guard circle, you don't have to go on. Great, because that means you can be as aggressive as you want in the early game. Spam out these 2 to get early game searches, and also just early game aggression. And then when your opponent counterattacks you, throw down Christine, drop nothing, and you're good. All around, Christine, very solid PG. You can run any of the Lyrical Monasterio PGs because they all share the same skill. I just choose to run Christine because she fits the theme of Mermaid Idol. That's pretty much why. So 4 of Christine. Then we have our last grade 1 in the deck, 1 of in the main deck, none in the right deck. Sorry, replace that. 1 in the right deck, none in the main deck. Of Diva of Lamp Spirits Anais. Grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base. Auto remote upon, look at the top 7 cards of your deck. Choose 2 cards with Pacific and their card names from among them. Reveal them, put them into hand, shuffle your deck. So, cool. Free top 7 search of your 2 grade 3 units that you want in your hand, and it literally does it for free. I wish she had a rear guard skill, even if it was a crappy 2k one, but Cool. Because it just feels like she's there just for the free top 7. I know I'm the only person that cares about if it has something outside of, like, a one-use thing, because I hate using cards for, like, one use, especially if they have 2 skills. I hate doing that. Like, if they have 2 skills and I know I can't use a second skill. Like, Ride Deck gets, like, the discount of that, technically, but even then, like, you know, point is, I wish she had a second skill, even if it was crappy, just so I could say, oh, she has more to her than just, oh, top 7 skill, even if you never use the other skill. But, I mean, it is what it is. One of in the Ride Deck of Anais, none in the main deck, because, you know, no rearguard skills. And of course, we have our grade 2s. First, we run 2 copies of our order and thoughts into forms. Grade 2 normal order. If you have 6 or more units, you can play it by soul blasting 2, counter charge 1. Oh yeah, I lied. There is 2 soul blasters in this deck. Well, this card you rarely use. In fact, I swear this card isn't even in the deck, because I know I put it in, but then, like, every single time I use this deck, I have either never seen it or I will see it in my damage and I will never draw it into my hand. And, like, I genuinely forget it's there. And now that I'm remembering, there's a 3rd Soul Blast in this deck. Okay, there's a chance that you could run into a Soul Blast problem, but again, that implies that you only open the Soul Blasters. And even then, that's, like, 1 in a million chance. But, you know, being able to get a free CC is nice. You really only need this, like, once per game if, like, you've been ham-ramming the CB the entirety of it and you have yet to see a single copy of Lausen, which I want to understand, considering I draw her more consistently than I draw either of the 2 Pacificas. But I mean, hey, free CC is free CC, otherwise it's discard photos, so 2 of. And then we have 2 copies of the card you will never use the Soul Blast skill of if you're playing this the way it's supposed to be, but you will always use the CB skill, and that is What Color Is Your Wish? Valspen. She is actually the reason this is in this deck, just in case I ran into a CB problem, which, by the way, if you haven't remembered about me saying I don't draw into this at all, clearly doesn't exist. Anyways, grade 2 and stuff, 5k shield, 10k base. Auto when she's discarded from your hand during your ride phase by soul blasting one and bot decking her, free draw. Cool, you know, it's an extra, if you end up having the extra soul, recycle it to draw a card and, again, prevent yourself from decking out, but also get more hand cards. And this deck can actually call from deck, so it doesn't matter if she goes to bottom or not. And then her other skill is auto rear guard when she's placed on the rear guard circle. The amount of times I checked this, because if it wasn't on place from rearguard circle from anything, this deck and Prisms would not be nearly as broken as they would be. Or, like, Prisms less so, but still. But, yeah, its ability also stacks, which is the other reason why I kept checking it. If you Persona Road this turn, which, again, with all of our searchers, and there's still more to come, it's pretty easy to attain. Counterblast 1 and choose one of your Vanguards, and it gets continuous Vanguard. All your front row use gives 5k power until end of turn. So, if you play both copies of this, and you find a way to kill one, and then recycle it back, and then call it right back to rearguard, it will just keep stacking the numbers, because it's giving the Vanguard different continuous skills each time, even if the continuous skill is the exact same. It's the same thing as, like, that Dark Regular Stride all the way back in, Premium. I forgot what its card name is. It's, like, Demon Ogre or something. Basically, it's every time you soul charge, it gets the continuous Vanguard effect. Your front row gets plus 1k, and because it's getting a different interval each time, it just stacks. So, you know, if you play both of them in a turn, you just double the Persona Ride, and, yeah, this thing is very fun to play if you get its effect off, especially because it can be called from anywhere, regardless of its deck or hand. Hint, hint, worst case scenario, this is what you call from Pacifica's effect. 2 of Valsplan. Very good for pushing numbers. Very nice card, 2 of. And then we have 4 copies of the thing that allows this deck to hit 4 attacks without having to rely on double Pacificas, and that is Pay Attention to Me, Trish. So, great chance at 5k shield, 10k base. Literally the only reason she's in this deck is because of this skill, nothing else. Auto rearguard, when your other unit attacks from the back row in the center column, you return this unit to your hand. Cool. And then auto when she's put on guard circle from the hand, soul blast 1, and it gets plus 10k shield for that battle. So 15k shield is nice to have. It basically turns itself into a trigger, and there is excess soul in this deck. Obviously, you prioritize these 2 over it, but still. Or technically prioritize her over this because, again, never see it, but still. And then, you know, being able to bounce yourself back to hand when the top isle that's in the back center attacks is great because, I mean, it allows for more front row multi-attack, which does allow for more Persona Ride shenanigans and shenanigans with this thing when you superior call with Pacifica skill. So, not bad. She's not an amazing card, but hey, 15k shield and allows for combos with this, Persona, and anything else that involves the front row. Yeah, it's a solid 4 of. Then we have 4 copies of a card that just should have had this thing's first skill, and I will forever question why it doesn't, and that is Revival Ocean Solnagaj. So, great chance of 5k shield, 10k base, like that little reflection of the sun. Auto when is placed on the rearguard circle by counterblasting 1, check top 7 for up to 1 Pacifica card from among them. Reveal it, put it to your hand, and shuffle your deck. If you not reveal a card, countercharge 1. So, cool. Just basically gets that search. If you whiff, You didn't pay anything for it, and if you did see something, free target to hand. And then auto rear guard, when you're the unit from the back row in the center column attacks, this unit will get plus 5,000 power for that turn. So 15k swing, which is nice. My thing is, I wish the deck consistently swung with back row more often, like without having to rely on Planet Idol, because since it does, once you run out of Planet Idols, even though the chance of that happening is 1 in a million, because there's enough recyclers in the deck to not let that happen, but once you run out of them, you can no longer attack from back row, meaning none of your power-up effects go off, which kind of sucks, but I mean, that's just how it is. Either way, though, 15k swing, possibly 20k swing if you find a way to attack from the back row twice, aka main grade 3, and then check top 7 search. Easy 4, in my opinion, just a very solid grade 2. Then we have last grade 2 in the deck, one of in the ride deck, none in the main deck, sadly, of Diva of Unwavering Souls Monette, Moon, the only reason why I like her. Auto, when she is rolled upon by a grade 3 card with Pacifica in its card name, choose one of your vanguards, and the cost of that unit's original act ability is reduced by CB1 for this turn. So all around pretty solid. Because that basically means the Vanguard's ability to recycle a card in your hand and then draw 2 cards for this turn. You don't have to pay a CB for it, which is great because that does end up helping lead into CB saving issues for when late game comes around and you just start spamming CB all in one turn because you pulled 2 of these. But then, you know, also just being able to make the Vanguard free is a solid thing too. So one of in the ride deck from Monette, none in the main deck, and her skill implies we will eventually get an evolution of Pacifica that may or may not have an original actability cost, so there's that too. So one of her, not an amazing card because she doesn't have rear guard skills, but I mean, hey, free CB is free CB. Then we have our grade 3s. 4 copies of the thing I hate. I don't know why I hate her more than I hate the normal one, I just do. Planet Idol Pacifica. Grade 3, Twin Drive, Persona Ride, 13k base. I love her dress though. Continuous back row center rear guard circle. During your turn, if you have a Vanguard with Pacifica in its card name, she can swing from back row. And if your opponent's Vanguard is a grade 3 or greater, she also gets plus 10k power. So, cool. Guaranteed back row swing regardless of what grade the opponent's Vanguard's at. And if they're grade 3, 23k swing as well. So that's pretty solid. And then auto rear guard, the amount that she attacked into anything, whether it's Vanguard or rear guard. If you have a Vanguard with Pacifica in its card name, by putting her to soul, choose one of your units and it gets plus 5,000 power for that turn. And if a card was put from the back row, put from back row center into soul, draw a card. So, cool. Possibly free, well, yeah, possibly free soul, give something 5k and possibly give you a free card as well, which is nice. And also the fact it's a 23k swing, possibly from back row, take a shot every time I said the word possibly in that sentence, is just all around pretty solid. She lost from multi-attack, and because of how normal Pacifica works, you can just call her out from deck to back center after you swap the one that already swung because you placed it from hand that turn into soul. You can get another one, you know, get 2 draws, have 2 23k swings, and, you know, basically pump up more soul and more numbers to your other rear guards. The reason I don't like doing that, though, unless I have to, is because to a technical default, if you Persona Road, you will have more numbers in your front row. Because you will have possibly this thing backing you up, especially because you can call this thing and still proc off its ability. You have the Persona Ride, which would give your entire front row 25k, or not 25k plus 10k, which essentially nullifies this thing's existence. Like, all around, she's not a bad card, don't get me wrong. It's just that I don't really feel like you need to call her to back center unless, like, your front row is filled and, like, you have, like, basically double these things in it. So, I mean, 4 of her. She's solid. She allows for free multi-attack, and she gets you soul numbers and draws. What's not like about her? Easy 4 of. And then we have the last card in the deck, 3 in the main deck, 1 in the ride deck of Top Idol Pacifica. Grade 3 turn Persona 13k base. Active Vanguard circle 1 per turn. By counterblasting 1, you can put a hand card to the bottom of the deck and draw 2 cards. So, you know, the first turn you use her, if you rode from Monette, she is just a bot deck something to draw 2 cards. You don't have to CB, which is great. So, you know, recycle triggers. You draw 2 cards. You don't have to show your opponent the card you sent back. Meaning, if you want to play the Misaki strategy of just consistently sending triggers to bottom and then your opponent not knowing about it, you get to draw free 2 cards. And then, obviously, if you drew the over, just wait till next turn, or if you drew the over early, just send it back to deck. All around pretty solid. And then her other skill is Auto Vanguard. When she attacks into a Vanguard by counterblasting 1, soul blasting 1 card with Pacifica in its card name. Search after 1 normal unit, call it to open rear guard circle and shuffle your deck. Now, I know earlier I said that I see Lausen more consistently than I see either of these two. That's not to say I don't draw this one. I do draw her before I get to here, but like it's like how Omni Glizio is. For those of you that don't know how my Omni Glizio deck deck works is pretty much the deck likes to scare me by waiting until the turn I need it to give me the Masquez, or like the turn right before, like basically the very last draw I get before I start doing plays where it requires it to be useful. Yeah, that's pretty much when I will draw the Masquez. So I will still draw it consistently, but it really loves to wait to the last minute to screw with me on that, which again is why I consistently think that, Lausen is more important in this deck, because free countercharge and recycles. While this is literally impossible to pull off on the first grade 3 turn if you don't see her, or unless you run soul charges, but again, that involves you seeing her in the soul charges to begin with. Or herself, which is still fair, but you get my point. Like, again, not a bad card, and again, the deck can and will consistently see this grade 3. It's just that, it likes to wait till the last second. And once you see one of them, you're safe for the rest of the game, because, you can just call it, send it to Soul, you then use her skill to call it right back out, and then send it back to Soul, and then basically set up for the next turn. Then since you have consistent recyclers, you are pretty solid for the rest of the game. But, if you don't see one, you're going to have one hell of a time trying to catch up. But, again, being able to cycle anything from your hand for her skill and draw 2 cards out of it is not bad, especially because the first time it's going to be free. And then after that, you get a rear guard to literally anywhere as long as it's open, which this opens up rear guard circles for you. This opens up rear guard circles for you, and it doesn't even have to be top idle. It most likely will be for at least the first 2 turns. But I mean, after that, Persona Ride fodder, technically her, but I could see reasons of why you wouldn't, considering you only used her if everything else is out of deck. Her, again, if everything else is out of deck. And then targets, because you like me and you want to prove an argument to point that Lawson's the best grade 1 in this deck. So yeah, 4 of her, just cool. Recycles triggers, it gets 2 free draws, and calls rear guards. Won't think about her. And that's it for the deck. I hope you guys enjoyed. All around, Pacifica is not a bad deck to play. It's fun, don't get me wrong, but like, I definitely still have my bias towards orange, and I definitely think Prism is more entertaining to play than this. I don't know why. I just feel like Prism proves the point, considering like Prism it will always have 5 attacks compared to this deck where it's either 4 or 5, like with just its only cards. So there's that. So everyone knows I'm here. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, join us for Twitch, and I'll see you all in the next one. Don't forget to stand up your vanguards.